Hey guys, Games for Life here, and in today's video we're gonna go over a few Astroneer resources. I'm gonna show you how to get them and how to use them. Right behind me you can see there are some basic Astroneer resources. These are the most important and most used resources in Astroneer at the moment. So we've got the most basic ones such as resin, compound and organic right here. And then we've got some that are just a little bit more advanced, such as clay, laterite and malachite, which each of them get transformed through smelting into ceramic, aluminum and copper. So I'm gonna show you how to get each of these and how to use them. If you're an Astroneer beginner and want some more tips and tricks, then you should check out the video that will appear on screen right now, where I share 5 beginner tips for Astroneer with you. But now let's get started with the compound. So we've got some compound right here. You can see it says compound natural resource. Let's open up the Astropedia and we've got compound right here. Now compound is found on all planets, so it's really easy to get it. You'll usually find it right on the surface in large packs. You will be able to dig it up with the terrain tool, and once you're more advanced in the game you can use auto extractors to do that for you. And you can craft a ton of stuff with the compound. Right in your backpack printer you can craft a small generator, tether bundles or small printers, using just one compound for each of them. Using the small printer you can craft the rover seat or the medium printer using 2 compound for each of them, and with the medium printer you can get a large printer using 3 compound. Now you'll see once we get over all of these resources that you will be able to pair compound with some of the other resources in here and get even more cool stuff that we'll talk about later. You can also get compound from the trade platform, so for 1 scrap you can get 2 compound. That's pretty easy to do, but you can also get it at the soil centrifuge, where for just 1 canister of soil you can get 4 compounds, so 2 total canisters, which is the maximum amount the soil centrifuge can fill in. You will get 8 compound for that. So overall compound is pretty easy to get and you can craft a ton of stuff with it. For example, if you pair it with resin you can get a smelting furnace, or if you pair it with aluminum you can get a soil centrifuge, a buggy or a trailer. Now let's move on to resin. This is a resource you'll be using a lot in base building, since most platforms are built using resin. Resin is also found on all planets, again on the surface or in the caves, and is the same thing, 1 scrap for 2 resin or 2 soil canisters for 8 resin using the soil centrifuge. Now with just resin you'll be able to craft canisters, oxygen filters, medium storages, a medium platform A, a medium platform B, a medium platform C, a large platform B, a large extended platform, or an XL extended platform. Resin can also be used in the chemistry lab. Paired with organic you get rubber, or using the medium printer, if you pair resin with aluminum you can get a rail car or a large tip platform. Now if you pair resin with compound you can either get a research chamber or a smelting furnace, both of which are really useful modules to have in your Astroneer base. Moving on to organic, this has less uses, but you'll be able to find it on any planet, on the surface or in the caves. You need 1 scrap for 2 organic, or it's the same as compound and resin, you can get 8 organic for 2 soil canisters. If you smelt organic you'll get carbon, just like that, which you can also use in a ton of stuff. Now with just organic you can either get carbon like I showed you, or you can craft glow sticks in your backpack printer. These are really useful for when you're in caves and need a little bit of light. As I've previously mentioned for the resin, if you pair organic with resin you can get rubber at the chemistry lab. And if you smelt it into carbon you can pair it with compound and get plastic at the chemistry lab. Carbon also has other uses in this chemistry lab, but you'll need some more advanced resources to do that. I just realized I didn't show you how to craft a smelter. So you should go to your medium printer that you've got using the compound resin or whatever you need, and you can go ahead and craft 1 smelting furnace. I'll just take 1 from here. Now when you've got 1 of these, you can place it anywhere, make sure it's turned on, and then you can feed whatever you want into it and it will smelt them. So with just these 3 basic resources there's a lot of stuff you can craft. But if you've just started your Astroneer game up, you might realize that you don't have all of this stuff to craft from the get-go. That's why you'll need bytes. Right here on the side you've got your bytes counter, which you can see we've got a byte farm going on, so we get tons of bytes every second. We've got 800,000 right now, almost reaching 1,000,000 bytes. But when you're a total beginner in Astroneer, how do you actually get bytes? Well, you get that using a research chamber. We'll craft 1 of those right now. Let's just get this out of the way. All you need is 2 compound and 1 resin, you'll get your research chamber, and then you can feed research items into it for bytes. You'll get the hang of it really quick, it's pretty easy to use. We've got a small byte farm right here, but we've got another bigger one on Aatrox. This basically uses atmospheric condensers that feed argon into the research chambers. So this is basically how they work. You turn them on while researching something and you get bytes. Now, you've got some bytes, so you can unlock even more stuff. and you've got your smelter to smelt resources. So it's time to move on to the second tier of resources that we're gonna discuss in this video, which are just a little bit more advanced. The first one is clay. It says right here that you can find clay on all planets in Astroneer, but from my experience it's pretty hard to find it. It's definitely easier to find organic resin or compound. That's why I usually use the soil centrifuge for this one, where you can get 6 clay for just 2 canisters of soil. By the way, a canister of soil is made using 1 resin, so you've already got that resource, so you can do those infinitely and just gather soil with your terrain tool. You're gonna be good. Now, what does clay actually get you? Well, you can definitely smelt it into ceramic using a smelting furnace that you've crafted earlier, and there's just one other use for it. Using your large printer, if you have that, you can actually craft a pumpkin shelter, which is a special type of shelter introduced with the Halloween update. But for that you'll need resin, carbon and plastic as well. However, if you've come so far, you've already got all of those resources, assuming you have the chemistry lab. But let's not go that far. The main use for clay is smelting it into ceramic. And using ceramic you can get a ton of stuff. For example, you can get a drill mod, a small wind turbine, a tall platform, a tall storage, or a large storage using just ceramic. If you pair it with compound, for example, you can get a large curved platform or an extra large curved platform. If you want to pair it with resin, you can get an extra request platform that's gonna help you take part in Astroneer events, which happen periodically. The more interesting part is when you pair ceramic with aluminum. This way you can get an oxygenator, a medium wind turbine. By the way, we've got 100 of those here on Glacio, so you can really put those wind turbines to work if you're on a planet with a ton of wind. Or, still using ceramic and aluminum, you can get a landing pad for your shuttle. There's also a ton of other stuff you can use ceramic for, but you'll need more advanced resources to pair it with. Safe to say, ceramic is a really good resource to have throughout your game, because you're gonna be using it right up until the very end of the game. Right, so you've heard me talk about the soil centrifuge earlier, and how it's a good way to get all of your resources. I mean, the basic ones at least. But how do you actually get a soil centrifuge? Well, for that you'll need 2 compound and 1 aluminum. So that's what we're gonna be talking about, aluminum. Basically you get aluminum by smelting laterite. Checking the Astropedia, you can get laterite from the caves of all planets. So that's a pretty good way to start getting your aluminum. Now once you have that, so you have 1 aluminum and you have 2 compound, you can start crafting your first soil centrifuge. Now you'll be able to do all of that cool stuff I've been talking about earlier and get a ton of resources using just soil. Another quick tip, using the soil centrifuge you can get ammonium really easy, and you'll need this a lot in order to craft hydrazine, but you'll get to that point later on in the game. Now let's talk about aluminum. Using just aluminum you can get a tractor, a rail junction bundle or a small shuttle. But if you pair it with resin, you can get a rail car, a large T-platform, a rail post bundle, a tall rail post bundle, and I think that's it. Also, if you pair it with compound, you can get a buggy or the soil centrifuge, which we've just crafted, and you can also get a trailer. An interesting part is that if you pair it with copper, and we're gonna talk about that in a bit, you can get aluminum alloy. And by pairing it with ammonium, which you'll be able to get using the soil centrifuge you've just crafted, you can get a solid fuel thruster. You'll need no hydrazine for this. And with just 2 aluminum, you're able to build a small shuttle. So that means once you've unlocked aluminum, you can now explore the whole system of Astroneer by just crafting a small shuttle and multiple solid fuel thrusters. Now keep in mind, these thrusters expire after a while because you can't refill them with hydrazine. So make sure to get multiple of those so you don't get stranded on a random planet. One of my favorite things that you can craft with aluminum is the rail engine. For this you'll need aluminum, resin and copper. And that's gonna open up a whole new world of Astroneer transportation once you get the rails and the trains. And all of the rails are easily built with just aluminum and resin. So there's some pretty cool stuff you can do with aluminum. But there's one thing that you can use even more, and that's copper. You'll get this from smelting malachite, which you will be able to find either on the mountains of Silva or in the caves of Kelidor. Assuming you've just started your Astroneer journey, you'll probably be on Silva, so look for the mountains. All you have to do is place your malachite in the smelter and you'll get copper. Now what can you use copper for? Right from your backpack printer, you can craft a work light, a small solar panel or extenders. All of these are gonna be crucial for your base building activities in Astroneer. As I said, if you pair aluminum and copper, you'll get aluminum alloy at the chemistry lab, and if you pair it with aluminum and resin, you can get the rail engine. The nice thing about copper is that you'll be able to use it even later in game to get some really cool items. For example, If you've got quartz, copper and titanium, you can get a rail station. Or if you have copper, glass, graphene and aluminum alloy, you'll get a solar array. You can also get a power sensor with just copper and zinc. But these are resources that we'll maybe talk about in another video, because they're a little bit more advanced. So these are the basic Astroneer resources you need to know about, and I believe this is gonna make the game a lot easier to get into, especially for beginner players. Now make sure you don't forget about that video with the tips and tricks, so go watch that next. I've been Games for Life and I'll see you next time. Cheers, Astroneers!